What up?
Oh,
Welcome to the acceptable regular stream where we draw comics. My name is Dave Raposa,
and I'm Dan Warren.
and together we're a publishing company called Acceptable Comics. And you can join
Mm-hmm.
us every week, and then every other week, as in like next week, we'll have an interview. And yeah, we're
We
sponsored
should
by ourselves, of course.
we should say who that interview's with.
That's the special announcement. I'm not going to spoil it just yet.
Oh, okay.
We're sponsored by ourselves. You can visit acceptablecomics.com today for free preview of our book, which is available for pre-order. And yeah, hang out here and watch our streams occasionally. Time to stop. Night on Bald Mountain.
When
Pause.
last we left Gotham City, Batman had been defeated at the hands of Devilman, only then to spring his ultimate trick, the awakening of his Bat Gundam, piloted by Alfred, his butler.
That's right.
But in turning on that Gundam, they were pinged by a Principality of Xeon ship, and Char was notified that the Gundam was in use. Smirking, knowing that Bruce could not resist, he turned.
Smirking, knowing. You don't have. They could
He
see it.
turned to his advisors, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and informed them that it was finally time to stop the billionaire who was funding the Foot Clan.
That's right. That is correct. So before we get into full lore, I want to say that we have our next guest, and and I'm going to mispronounce your name. I apologize for this in advance. Tommy Reffens, who is the co-creator of Super Meat Boy,
Oh
part of the
yeah,
two-man team of Team Meat. So
it's
him
gonna be
and
dope.
Edmund McMillan, they made Super Meat Boy. And while Edmund did most of like the art, animation, things like that, Tommy was the one behind the scenes for the most part. But he's in the documentary if you've ever seen it on Netflix, the one about like independent developers. And you can watch him suffer on there if you want to get like a little bit of a background on him in that context before we
Yes,
have our interview. But he's a really cool dude, super hard worker, and we're pretty excited. It's going to be really
yeah,
good. Good variety of people coming on the stream, so we're happy that we're able to invite people, have some cool stuff.
it's a good point. Team Meat and Team Cream coming together.
Yeah, meat and cream
Gonna
always
be
comes together for a good combination.
beef stroganoff stream.
Yeah,
Gonna be great.
yeah, beef stroganoff stream coming up. So first things first, let's pull up some really cool references.
Definitely.
So let's go over here and let's type in uh, Gundam 0083 Bridge. Let's get all this
Stupid,
stuff up and going.
stupid chair. So anyway, as usual, if anyone has any questions, concerns, things they'd like us to talk about, anything at all, you can put it in the chat. Just tag us at Steve Lichman so we don't
Char
miss it.
Gundam.
Happy to talk about anything. So yeah.
Let's pull up all these Char Gundam references, and then I think after that we're pretty much good to go.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep this stuff on the side and just reference it while I'm going. Just want to make sure we get the look down. It's important to nail the aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get that Gundam aesthetic.
I had one of those days that wasn't a day yesterday for the first time in a long time.
Is that a masturbatory day or is it just a regular
No,
day?
it's the one where you do so much the previous day that you sleep in and you wake up late and you go to bed early, so your day is only like 9 hours long.
Mm.
It's the weirdest feeling. I haven't done that in, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. Yeah, it was weird. I woke up at like 3 and I was back in bed at like midnight. I was like, well, that's the end of that.
Yeah, I had a thing where, like, last night I took Elu out puppy, and she just didn't shit and wouldn't shit.
Oh, that's the worst.
So then in the morning, like the like
Yeah.
for hours, it's like
Uh-huh.
fuck, just like jumping up. I only slept like, I mean, I don't know how you slept, but I only slept like 5 or so hours, which
Yeah, I
isn't
probably
awful.
got about the same, but it was all spread out. I kept wake like every hour and a half I like woke up, which I hate. If it was just a block, it would have been better, but whatever. Have the books made it across the puddle? No, they are still held up in China, which we spent most of our weekend dealing with. Won't get
Yeah,
into too much detail. Suffice to say that we're looking at other options for the next book just because we want it to ship faster. They're really taking forever getting them out of China
yeah. It's like we're in that mode.
to the point where I'm like, okay, this is like a problem now. There's a certain amount of leeway you give people and a certain amount of like shit you're willing to accept because of we lost our spot in line because of the shipping, the price change stuff with Amazon.
Back in like what, September?
September. Yeah, so we had to step back and figure that out. By the time we figured it out, we'd lost our spot in line, but now we're back on priority for them, and like the fact that it still
Well,
hasn't shipped is like
now there's
what?
like no excuse. Like we've been
No.
like we're ready for everything. It's just
Yeah, I'm just come
what's
on.
happening.
Come on.
Like everything's moving, or everything should be, or should have already been moved like a
Yes, now
hundred
they're
times.
now they're telling us okay, so the most up-to-date information we have as of yesterday is that everything should be moving by April 12th, which is almost 4 weeks later than they initially told us everything would be shipping. So
Yeah.
they've already delayed it a month past when they guaranteed it. So I'm pissed already, but
Well, like it's one
we'll
of
see
those things where here's how it ends up working is like somebody will give you a guaranteed date. Like
Mhm.
here's the guaranteed date of when everything's going to be moving. And then like there's this thing in business, and we were talking about this the other day. It's like this thing I hate of the, get an inch, take a mile. it's
It's the
like
worst.
it's like, oh, this is when it'll definitely be happening. And then once you're getting a little bit closer to that, it's like, oh no, it's just a little bit out from that. And then oh no, 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 it's just a little bit out from that.
And then months go by.
And you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
What is happening? Why a little bit? Like just whatever the reality is, tell us the reality. Like it's
Mhm.
such a crazy feeling. Like we've been
Well, because
having
that's
to
the thing
deal with
is
that.
because it becomes a ripple effect where the more that they do that, the more I have to do it with backers, and the backers don't know the whole story, so they assume that I'm doing what China's doing to us, and that makes us look shitty.
Yeah,
So
it's like,
I'd
what
rather
are
tell I'd
we
rather
that?
tell yeah, I would have rather told backers back in like November, hey, this won't ship till April if they knew that back then, if I knew that back then. But instead they do this. So I go, oh yeah, it's gonna ship in January. No, March. No, April. And it's like, fuck off. Like just give me the direct info so I can give the backers the direct info. Like, fuck.
We had a conversation the other day with them, with the team, and we were just like really upset about it. Like we had like our whole like snapping moment.
Yeah.
It was great, except not great at all.
No, it's not. It feels terrible to get that negative. Has anyone, this is just kind of like a rhetorical question. I don't need answers, but this is just for everybody in the chat. Has anyone ever noticed how tired you get when you're angry for like a whole day? Like how draining stress and negativity is? Like it's crazy how fucking tired it makes you. So I hadn't been that angry in a long time, and I was just like, "Whoa, this is nuts." Like I'm so exhausted just from thinking about this stupid thing.
Yeah, we had to get really mad, and then we were just like, what are we even doing on the phone? Like, can we all just get off the phone? What's the
Hmm.
point of this?
Yeah, that was the end of it. It was just like, well, you got no info to give us, and we're just beating you up. So let's just get off the phone call.
Yeah, or like, what's the point of this back and forth?
At Steve Lichman, yo, were any of you working full time day jobs while you were trying to get better? Uh, Not really. I mean, I guess briefly at Domino's, but not really.
No, but this was like we're still early 20s and all
Yeah,
that, so we didn't have a family or any huge responsibilities, so you could live dirt cheap and
yeah,
in the middle of nowhere and still make a living enough to be able to afford food and all that. So that's kind of like the struggle was more budgeting your life to the point where you're not really like eating.
Swindeer says, wanted to give a big thanks to Dave for the ARC tutorial he did a while back. Finally got through the 15 hours of that commentary. Was more valuable than any process video I've seen so far.
Oh, good. I'm happy. Yeah, I spent a ton of time on that. And I always wonder if that was the right move to like keep it that cheap. Not because I wanted to make more money, but just because of how people value things. So I always think like maybe it's bad because it is such a cheap video for the amount of time that you'd be invested in it that
Mm.
like people don't go into it with that mindset where like if you buy something for more money you kind of assume that you're going to like value the content, and like
Yeah,
you're
you
going
don't
to invest the
disregard it
time.
for sure. I don't know. I think there's been enough positive feedback that it's at least in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, I mean I don't care either way. Like I'm happy the people that have seen it, but I always wonder if that was like a problem.
Jack Mack says this may be odd or completely understandable. I find I have much more motivation to work on my personal slash after job art if I watch some art videos earlier in the day. What have you found or do you watch as part of your habit or daily process? Uh, I always get more done and feel more creative if I go for like a long swim. I don't know why. It's just like if I can get to that weird zone of like just thinking and all the other stuff, like all the other stress is gone. Like working out does it sometimes, but swimming always does it because I swim for like 2 hours. When I get out, I'm like, I know exactly what I got to do, what steps to do. I have a bunch of new ideas. Like the first thing I do when I leave is write everything down and then I come home and work. And it's like, I don't know, getting to that spot where you can just sit and have like quality thought time and like really think about what you need to do helps a lot because a lot of times you just go on autopilot. I used to have that problem a lot where I'd wake up and start working and not think about any big picture stuff and just work till the end of the day and get less done than I could have if I just stepped back and thought about it.
Yeah,
But
same.
yeah.
I do the same thing where like when I exercise, I feel like that's where I kind of put myself together. And I don't know, any kind of thing where you take a walk, you like one thing I do is I'll take a walk and like listen to music,
Yeah.
and that helps me to just get everything lined up so I kind of know where I'm at. Like you always want to reevaluate yourself. Like the worst thing I think you can do just and I think about this more getting older is just like have a day to just be a day for no real reason. Like you're not
Hmm.
actually doing anything. There's no end goal. There's no focus. Because it's like doing something like this, like what we're doing right now in the stream is cool because like it's a double thing. It's like yeah, we're doing a stream, but we're also doing this thing now. It's like fun. It's stupid, and also it leads to more people coming to check out the stream. It's like this one-off comic thing, and it's fun to do. Take suggestions from the chat for it and all that, and like it's a better use of our time on here as opposed to just doing regular drawings over and over.
Right.
And it's like you always want to like think like, well, what am I actually doing? What's it going to lead to? And how can I combine multiple things to make this doubly effective? The same thing goes for like studying anatomy. Like one of my favorite ways to study anatomy is to mix it in with animation because that way, you have something really cool that like moves, and then you also have the studies down, and it's like you didn't have a horribly boring time doing the studies anymore because doing something like animation alleviates a little bit of that boringness that like
Yeah.
what am I doing, this is so stupid and monotonous, because you can see something move and you're engaging your brain in a different way and trying a new problem. I think all that's healthy, so that's kind of what I do when I'm going for a walk, to not just like start the day without any direction. Was that even the question?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
kind of.
I
It was
wasn't
just
sure.
the question was more about like, is there stuff that you watch or do? We kind of answered the do part.
Oh, okay.
The only stuff that I watch to get like, I have some go-to stuff that if I'm feeling out of it can always get me drawing again, but it's usually like, we've talked about it on here before. Like, it's like the retrospectives we talked about with Brandon and some other stuff.
Right.
But now your art says, freelance question to keep it together. How did you manage incoming and outgoing costs, monthly, weekly, for everything marked on the calendar? What would you suggest makes the most sense? I definitely did that in the beginning when I wasn't making a ton and it was like sort of check to check. The best advice I can give is to have an A scenario and a B scenario, like a Resident Evil game, where on your calendar it says, I'm supposed to get my check on the 5th. If they don't pay me, what do I do? Because a lot of the time that'll happen. So like I got a Pathfinder check this year back in like January that was for a job I did in 2011 or 2012,
I forgot
and
about
like
that.
I completely forgot that they had never paid me for it because I guess it just never went to publication. I guess it must have finally got printed because somehow they found my new address and sent me a check, and like it's like 6 years late. But like, at some point I stopped
6 years.
tracking it down because I just didn't know what to do. But yeah, have plans of when you're going to get paid, and then based on how much you're going to make from what you're getting paid, make a budget that has some money saved if you can. You might not be able to in the very beginning. And then budget out, how much you can spend on food every day and like living essentials. And then, make a shopping list, but also have a B scenario of if I don't get paid, what do I do? Because sometimes you won't get paid.
Right. And budgeting doesn't mean that you can't ever have nice things. It means that when you do have them, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've seen people, and Dan can attest to this, and I think this is super common anyway, but it's like people who go to Starbucks and buy coffee every day.
Hmm.
Like, you know, if you buy like a $4 coffee every day for like,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you skip the weekends and you're
It's
still
30
paying
bucks.
like 80
Yeah.
bucks a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then think about that in terms of like, what if you just bought your own fancy coffee? Like, we have like
Way
fancy
cheaper.
coffee delivered and it's like 30 bucks for two huge bags.
They'll last
And
a while.
yeah, it lasts a long time and you have
Yeah.
fresh coffee all the time.
That's why one of my habits for Gauntlet of Goals is to stop buying coffee at Dunkin' Donuts here because I always get large ice cold brews, and every time I get one, it's like $4.30.
Right. And like making that yourself is so
And
cheap.
at the end of the month, when I look at it, I go, I spent more on coffee than I spent on my heating bill. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense. That makes
Yeah.
no sense.
So budgeting's really important, especially if you're the kind of person that likes to reward yourself when you're stressed
Right.
and be like, "Oh, I deserve something." Because you
Hmm.
probably make, or at least you can probably save a lot more money than you think you can.
Clankworks says, have you guys looked at maybe using Black Box for Volume 3? It's supposed to be a shipping company that works directly with Kickstarters. I've heard of Black Box. I haven't looked into their pricing.
All we can say about that stuff is that like Black Box, all those companies, like no
They take a
matter no matter
huge
what,
cut.
yeah, no matter what you think, they're not cheaper
No.
than the cheaper options. Like their
Right.
their premium options, they're more expensive. They're for people who aren't familiar with like the business stuff. So it's like when you see, like, for instance, for us, when we were initially going to do our book publishing, the first thing you find when you search like how to do your own books is Ninja Print.
Yeah.
And Ninja Print is just the most expensive thing. Like they take such a huge cut
Yeah.
of the profit of everything that you make that it's just ludicrous. Like they're
So we
just
made
robbing you.
I want to say we made our books for what, 1/4 or 1/5 of the cost of the Ninja Print quote.
Yeah, like it was just insane what they were charging.
So I'm guessing. So okay. So our book two, is about £4. So I'm gonna guess if Amazon's rate, if Amazon's rate to ship a book in the domestic U.S. is about $6, which is it's about 6.50 this time. I'm gonna guess that Black Box's rate per backer is about $12
Yeah, I'd say
because they
so.
need to pay their workers, they need to put the packaging on, and they need to take a premium for handling the all of the spreadsheet stuff. So I'm gonna guess it's probably $12, maybe even 15 per customer.
But
Either that or some of the other ones, if they work directly with Kickstarter, they charge you per backer. So they'll say like,
yeah,
we'll ship your stuff at the US cost for the package, and then we'll take $3 per backer. That's like what Backer Kit does. Backer Kit's cool, but they charge you per backer. A lot of Kickstarter tie-in stuff does that, where they go, we'll take a percentage. So if your campaign's bigger, we'll take more money because there's more backers. That's another way that they handle it.
yeah. The thing to keep in mind is that just like compared to other stuff, like compared to like an Amazon, even though Amazon's a headache,
Hmm.
you're saving so much money because
Yeah.
the way that these other companies work is like it's not like you get tracking and stuff. Like you're still using the postal service.
Right.
Like it's still not great. So yeah,
Morning, fellas. I've been having an issue with my edge control. I find the general shapes and large forms look all right in my work, but my edges get really muddy in the finer details. Any advice on this? Edges get muddy in the finer details.
I guess
I
tighter
mean,
drawings.
yeah, I mean, as an experiment, try the thing that I talked about on here a couple times where cut your work time in half. If you're going to spend 10 hours on a painting, spend 5 hours on the whole painting and do all the general shapes and all the values and everything, and then spend the second 5 hours just working on the area, like the focal point, and really tighten the stuff inside that circle of wherever the focal point's going to be. And it'll look a lot more finished than you're used to because you're taking the time to really polish where you want the eye to go and bring a higher level of detail there. I guess it's just like, it just sounds like you need to zoom in on the part of the painting that matters and just put a little more finer attention on it.
Hmm. Also, don't stop studying. Don't stop just like learning, the drawing side of it, the fundamentals.
Hmm.
A lot of times, like for me, the muddiness in a painting will come from the fact that I don't really have a drawing that's solid. And a solid drawing is just, it's a really easy way to, have that structure in place so that you're not really questioning where the focal and details are because they're kind of already worked out.
Oh, this is interesting. Sagittarius says one thing that happens in software engineering is called the reality factor. It changes from engineer to engineer, but you take your schedule deadline and multiply it out by this factor. If you think something will take 1 month and your reality factor is of a 1.5, then your reality is actually the project that will take 1.5 months.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that's there's there's more than one name for that. I know what you're talking about. There's the one that I heard was about how you take your project and then if you say it's going to take this long to do it, it's actually going to take three times that.
Yeah. Orphic Whip says he would have spent $50 on your tutorial, you dummy. You
Well,
need to re-energize with murder. Yeah, I agree.
I got to I got to keep that in mind for the next one.
Still waiting on the 15-hour tutorial on doing your comic page. I mean, how many hours is this comic at so far? With all the streams put together, we must be like at 10, right?
If I didn't talk, I could do each page in less than a day. I could have done both of these in a day.
Yeah.
But because of the stream and everything else, it's way different. I'm still not used to it.
As far as the cheap thing, that 15 hours could be a book on Audible and it would have been gold. I'd buy the shit out of it.
What I
It's
did.
just wonder. Yeah.
I mean, I guess I could still do that. I have the audio. You would
So here's a
just
weird
not
here's a
understand
weird
it.
here's a weird thing me and Dave talk about off and on. We wanted to do back a while ago, we were thinking about to make some side income. a lot of people were asking us to do a Gumroad on how to do a Kickstarter and break down all the different things in it, from like advertising your campaign to building the assets to like what it's going to look like to making the video to the cost breakdown of what the card companies take, what Kickstarter takes, to the cost of shipping, to dealing with backers, managing the campaign, dealing with delays, like fully intensive every aspect of a Kickstarter start to finish. And the reason we didn't do it is because we assumed people would want some kind of visual with it. They wouldn't just want audio. They'd want like a video with graphics showing stuff, or it would be too boring. Just honest answer from the chat, like if that was just an audio thing, would people want it? Or is it the kind of thing where you'd want to sit down and watch it with like graphs and things on like a movie?
Yeah, I mean, it is something that you could set up to be like a video with like little topic things, but
Because at this point I've
it's
worked
just,
on like
eh.
12 Kickstarters. I mean, we've done two, but I've worked on a ton of other ones. And like I could put that together pretty easy, but I just don't know if people would want to listen to an audio version of it.
It's also one of those things where I feel like nobody would really do it. Like it'd be cool to have as a
Yeah,
resource for like the people who would do it, but it's like
right.
it's so specific in how many people want to make something like that.
Andrew Gibbons says I started trying out Clip Studio to try and make comic pages. Do you save your pages individually or use the function where you can have multiple pages? Do you just turn the individual pages into a PDF when you're all done? Very curious. Thanks.
I don't I don't do that. I save everything individually because I feel like the more individual files there are, the safer I am. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just have that fear built into me.
Who's your favorite animator? I mean, I don't know. Right now, it's the Golden Age Disney stuff from the 60s. I've been rewatching all those movies a lot. Last week I would have said Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah, I don't have like a favorite. I just have like a couple. I have a few favorite like animation houses. I like Madhouse, like the '90s
Mm,
era
they're
Madhouse.
great. Yeah, I've rewatched Sleeping Beauty like 3 times in the past week. It's like stupid how crazy some of the sequences in that movie are.
Your
But
voice
yeah.
is a buttery smooth.
When Dave had a Patreon for his comics, was he going to give the PSDs of the pages away as the top tier donations? I'm trying to brainstorm ideas for rewards.
I don't think so. I wouldn't do that because what's like. Here's the thing with that. Somebody could just take those and print them. Like that's the reality of that. If
Mm,
you have a comic, like I don't think that would happen, but it could happen. If you give out high res stuff of like a printable file for a comic, then yeah, that there's a potential for that. Um, I wanted to do the Patreon originally because I thought I would just kind of learn how to do comics that way, by doing Starvale. But then Steve Lichman became that and like the learning vehicle, and then Steve Lichman ended up blowing up.
right.
So that kind of went away. I never really had any like ironed out ideas for what that would be. But yeah, I think it's kind of weird because you at least have to instill like expectations in your backers of what's going to happen with it, because you want to retain the ability to go back and like edit things as you go, and like if you're building out a book or something, sometimes just to make things work better, it's like you're gonna want to go back and before print, or I don't know what your intention would be, but before it goes out somewhere, iron things out and make sure the plot still works and figure out your issues and get an editor to go through it with you. I don't know, because you can have a story totally like technically done because it's on the Kickstarter. I mean, on the Patreon, but it doesn't mean it's like it's final or good. And
Mm.
not being able to change something because people have been backing it and you've been doing it week to week and showing them everything, that's kind of a problem. you like want to do the whole book at once, or at least I feel like that's how you make a better book.
You write yourself into a corner if you do it publicly.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, you open yourself up to too much feedback where people, if you make changes you think are better, a lot of people are going to say, well, I want it the way it originally was. And then you get into this weird rut. Have you guys seen Amazon's The Tick? It seems to do to the superhero genre what you guys did with Steve with Fantasy D&D. I haven't seen it yet, no.
No, I haven't seen it either.
Do you guys reward yourself under stress? I sometimes order an expensive hamburger and a Coke. I only reward myself under stress if I set a goal and I achieve the goal. I don't just get stressed and go, well, I'm stressed, so I'm going to eat a pizza. Like, if I set a goal and I go, I got to get this done today to manage this stress, and I get that done, I'll, eat something nice or go somewhere or take an hour to play a game or something.
That's
But
also not every time.
yeah, it's not every time because I'd be doing that every day if that was the case because
Things are
it's
always happening.
been stress since September, basically.
Yeah, like if that were something we did, considering the Kickstarter and how many delays
Yeah.
we've had, we'd both be dead.
Yeah, we'd both be dead.
We'd be dead. Like like honestly, at this point, to not to like me and Dan have like this horrible guilt thing, which I think is appropriate, but
Yeah.
some people don't have that. But like I want to set up like a public forum where anybody who backed the book can come and just like throw stuff at us and
Yeah. It's the Puritan guilt. It's the New England thing where we just want to stand in the town square and have people come out and throw things at us and tell us we're frauds.
yeah, exactly. I'm like, can you just say it? Can you
No, like
just
we get it.
say what's
Anytime
happening?
anyone like the weirdest thing for me is when I see Kickstarters that get defensive when they're like, okay, the thing's going to be delayed 3 months, and people are like, what the fuck? And they go, hey, calm down. We're doing our best. Like when
Yeah,
Kickstarters get
feel
defensive,
attacked.
I hate it so much. It's like, no, you have to just lay down and get hit by that train. Like that's what it is. Like you can't get mad at the backers. They have every right to be mad at you. They funded your thing.
I also get like that with I mean, I know this is weird, but like when people are like really forgiving of us, I'm like, why?
Yeah, I'm like,
Like
dumb.
like you don't have to be. Like it's totally unreasonable.
Yeah.
Like just be mad.
I mean,
Like
that's why we added 50 pages to the book when we found out it wasn't going to be printed before January. We were like, okay, well, let's take these 50 pages we've done for book 3 and put them into book 2 to make it bigger. Just as like a fucking apology to like at least we can give people more stuff cuz we couldn't have a new thing printed. We were thinking for a while of like printing some of Brad Rigney's artwork and putting it in with the books or something just to apologize to people for the delay, and we realized that would take the China team even longer because it's another thing to add to their schedule. So we were like, okay, they haven't printed the books yet. Let's just add more to the books. And it costed a lot, whatever. But like, if you're going to delay something, try to give something back to people. Like, just, I don't know, just anything. Because it's such, delaying more than 6 months is just such a fucking bummer for everybody.
yeah, the but just to get back to that point, like yeah, again, we can't do that thing of rewarding ourselves for
No.
any kind of like you can't relieve stress that way because after a certain point, it's especially if you're doing your own thing, it's like stress just becomes your world. Like that's just what it is all the time because you're constantly having to deal with like all the moving parts of a business. It's just ugh. It's really good and really hard at the same time.
So what's the end game for you guys printing then? Are you looking to do it yourself? Well, unfortunately, it's always going to have to be in China because there's just no realistic way to turn a profit doing it in America anymore. So what we might end up doing for the next one is just handling it all ourselves direct and not do middleman stuff. We haven't decided yet. Um, it's just, there's a lot of moving parts, but we got to find a better solution where things move quicker next time because like if something's done, I want proofs of it like a week later. Like this waiting months and months and months thing, it kills you. It's so stressful. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, just send us death threats, please. It'll make me feel better.
Scrolling through. What are you guys working on right now? Two big things we can't talk about, and we're scripting book three. We haven't started the artwork yet, but yeah, that's basically it. We're just waiting for the books to ship, so I can take a month and make sure everybody gets their copy.
Mm-hmm. The uh the job we're doing outside of um the Kickstarter stuff is really cool. Can't
Mm-hmm.
wait for all that to start to surface. It's gonna be great.
Mike 86 asks, "You have your new process of drawing a more structured image first. How has your painting time changed? Would painting tutorial now have only been 8 hours instead of 15?"
Probably, yeah. I mean, it's weird because there's certain benefits you get, I feel, from doing a painting like the way I used to do it versus like how I'm doing it now. And then, the a lot of like the organic things that you do when you're painting in shapes, like, which is what I did before, is you kind of are constantly growing the painting through the whole thing, as opposed to having a drawing where you're set into the drawing
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of follow that as a structure, and you don't tend to improve what the image is, subject wise, as you go. So there's a little bit of a trade off, but not too much. Um, Ironing out the idea ahead of time, I think, is a stronger way to do it. And I was just kind of uncomfortable doing that. So now, yeah, the time has decreased, and also, yeah, it's just like not as crazy to, yeah, I don't have to invest like 15 hours of winging it. So it's helped a lot. It's just different.
Uh, Lung Cell. I was talking about Sleeping Beauty. I mean, Snow White's cool too, but I mean, they're all great. But Sleeping Beauty specifically is like one of the weirdest movies they've ever made. Like the backgrounds are all like really graphic flat shapes, so they look like a tapestry, kind of like they want it to look like those old medieval tapestries. So it's all really stark, like graphic design choices for the backgrounds. But then they do the multi-plane camera thing where like the backgrounds have like three layers of depth and the characters can weave in and out of foreground and background things. And like the amount of just showing off in that movie is nuts. Like the Once Upon a Dream thing where they dance, they put them above a lake just so they can animate a reflection of them dancing underneath it, and it's like it's crazy. And like the use of colored lines instead of black lines to make the characters pop is so cool. And like the animations, especially on like Maleficent, is so fluid. It's like ridiculous. Yeah, I don't know. Everything in that, the colors in that movie are crazy. Like when it cuts to the inside of the evil castle and everything is green and purple and it's like super neon, but somehow it works. It's just great. I don't know. I never appreciated that stuff as a kid watching those. I was like, these are the boring Disney movies. I don't want to watch these ones. Now it's like those are the only ones I want to watch. Like the technical skill is so nuts. They just show off so much. But yeah,
Also, apologies. We're in the boring part.
yeah.
We're in the boring part of the page where I just have to structure everything.
Hmm.
So it's going to be a while of this since I decided to do all interior spaceship scenes.
Hephaspro says, I bought the Steve Lichman books, but I probably won't have money for Skull and Shark left to wait for the movie. Well, Skull and Shark won't be done for at least 3 years, so who knows?
Yeah, there's no way.
There's no way. Even if we started it tomorrow, it wouldn't be done for 3 years.
It's funny to be like cool with that. That used to
Yeah,
bother me,
just is what it is.
but now I just go like, now that I know we can do it, I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't care when it's done. Like it'll get done when it gets done because it can.
Hmm.
But otherwise, what are you even doing? Like, you can't be unrealistic about it.
Luis Prado says, I saw the video you guys mentioned about how Star Wars was saved in the edit. Treadwell droid is just crazy. Yeah, that video's nuts. That
Treadwell.
video, Treadwell is the best. Come on, Treadwell, get into gear. Come on. It's just, that whole thing in the end of that video, if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, go watch how Star Wars was saved in the edit on YouTube. It's insane. The amount of changes they made to that movie at the last stretch, like that movie would have bombed if they didn't do these things. And like the entire ending sequence where the Death Star is going to blow up the Rebel base was completely manufactured. It wasn't in the script. They used it with cut footage and reused footage, and like it's just crazy that that whole story element was completely tacked on at the end just by George Lucas's wife. She did the whole thing. She edited all that stuff in. It's just crazy. But yeah,
Yeah, good video for sure.
really good video. I remember a long time ago you guys talking about how hard it is to get people interested in action focused comics. Any tips for artists still interested in making them? Action focused comics? I
About
don't know.
how he's saying when we used to talk about how like there's an immediate appeal of comedy.
Oh, sure, yeah, because everybody can relate to a joke, but not everybody can relate to a fight or a superhero. And if you design a cool character, not everyone will think it looks cool. So it's like jokes travel faster on the internet than action does. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's basically what we were getting at. But tips for someone who wants to do action stuff is, I mean, make the pages exciting. Like I've been looking at a lot of Sean Gordon Murphy stuff. The pages feel exciting because there's so many straight angular lines and everything has this weird like, I don't know, like everything feels fast and sharp. It's
I
cool.
I have an artist that you all should check out. Let me grab his name real quick. His name is James Harren, which is like it's James and then Harren. James Harren art. He's a comic artist. If you want to see somebody who has like what appeals to me is people who can throw away the rules of something in favor of the feeling and can
Mhm.
play with that idea, and he's one of those people. He just has such a fun kind of style. Like everything he does has this really great energy, and he has his own look, and yeah, his comics just I think they just stand out. His pages look really cool. 10th Bull just subscribe with Twitch Prime.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for becoming a member of the Cream Team, the Dream Creamers. Like how that was a thing, and then we just
I
stopped
know.
saying it so much.
Bring it back.
Yeah, we have to bring it back. That was, I mean,
The
branding
cream,
101.
the cream cycle, the creamsicle.
Yeah, the creamsicle.
How do you guys practice being mindful and conscious of your actions? Start writing them down. And then at the end of the day, look at them and go, what did I actually do today? And
I
how
like
aware
that
was I that I was
question.
doing
It's like an
that?
actual thoughtful.
Yeah, I know.
um,
Start writing stuff down.
yeah, I'd say write a lot. Like writing always helps.
Every 5 minutes, go, what am I doing and why am I doing it?
What was
And if you
that?
don't have
Isn't
a
that a
good
David
answer,
Allen rule
yeah, I believe
for
so.
like reevaluating what you're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
all the time?
What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And if you don't know why you're doing it, if there isn't a good reason, you're probably wasting time.
Yeah, I watched
So,
that Netflix documentary last night about Adderall,
oh, sure. I
that
haven't
take
watched that
your
yet.
pills one. It's pretty absurd. I guess I should
Yeah.
have known, but I didn't know that all Adderall was like,
Speed.
yeah, like meth, little
Yeah.
doses of meth.
It's literally an amphetamine.
It's like, oh yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny to think that you give meth to little kids, little bits of meth.
What breed of dogs have you guys got? I decided to adopt one soon after and can't stop watching dog videos. I was watching Caesar Milan Dog Whisperer when you guys came on stream. Also, it's 3 a.m. here. Also, have any good dog stories? I've got a. They told me it was a lab pug mix. I have no idea. I think she's half terrier.
Do you have any good dog stories?
Yeah, last 2 weeks ago, I want to say. I left the house and came back, and for the first time ever, she had gotten into the trash, which she's like almost a year old. So I just assumed if she'd never done it, she never would. And she ate a whole bag of garbage. From what I can tell, she ate a whole frozen bag of rice that I had thrown away. If you guys remember, there was a blackout, so everything in my fridge went rotten. So I threw everything away. You can't take the trash out here unless it's Thursday because Historical Society freaks out. So I had it in the trash can. She pulled the bag out of the trash can, ate a whole thing of rice, ate a whole bunch of rotten cheese,
Uh,
uh, just tons of garbage. And then before I got home, she puked everything up all over the house in like six piles of dog like puke. And then she shit, and then she peed all over my bed, and then she got a UTI all at once. So I had to spend like 5 hours cleaning all that stuff, and then getting like $200 medication pills, and like she's like terrified of certain things now after that because I don't know what happened because I wasn't here, but like she won't go near the fridge now. And like I don't know, it's just bizarre. Uh yeah, the only other good dog story I have is at the dog park when my dog managed to escape the fence and ran into the woods, and I just assumed I didn't have a dog anymore. I was just
I
walking around for 3 hours trying to figure out how to get her to come out of the woods.
I actually have a story I didn't tell. I forgot to tell it on the last stream of the CPR class.
Oh yeah, right.
I don't know if this is going to be funny.
I mean, it's
It's
funny and
funny in a surprising way.
it's funny in an awkward, painful. I can't believe you had to sit through that way. It's not funny in like a haha, that's hilarious
Yeah,
way.
it's not funny because of what it is. It's funny because of how it came up.
Right.
Um, so my wife had to take a mandatory like CPR class to be recertified for school, and so we both go to this like preschool down the street where they're hosting the class, and we're sitting in like these tiny chairs, like little preschooler chairs. So they're like a foot off the ground pretty much, and you got like your knees all bent high, and it's all adults in there taking the class. So it's like me, Kim, and a bunch of other people, like 9 people total, and we're doing introductions. And basically, the instructor's asking like, who here has emergency experience, and we're going around the room. So it's like just regular people. Nobody really has anything crazy to say. Some people have had like a couple situations, but nothing really. It's mostly people saying like, no, everything's been fine. Haven't really had to experience anything crazy where it was like life or death or whatever. So eventually it gets to the uh, second to last dude. And it starts out kind of like it's going to be something, like it starts out with him saying like, oh, I work at like a sleep clinic. Like he's the dude that runs it and watches people like as they sleep to make sure that, they're like, see if
All
they have like
right.
sleep apnea, whatever, all
Yeah.
that. So he's like talking about how this one time there's an old lady there and she died in her sleep and they tried to revive her and all this stuff happened. And, and we're like, oh, it's pretty crazy. And then he starts to like well up a little bit. Like he starts to well up and she goes, are you okay? And he goes, and then there was, and he goes, Nicaragua.
And then there was Nicaragua.
And then he just starts crying. And like, keep in mind, this isn't like, that kind of place. Like, it's just us all introducing ourselves. None of us know each other. This dude just breaks down crying. And he just goes, it was Brian. His, his leg was just, it was blown off.
Oh my
And there's
god.
blood everywhere. And the other people, they got shot, but I didn't get hit. And he starts looking around, sitting in the
Fucking
preschooler chair, looking around at
garbage.
the rest of us, just crying. And me and my wife just had to like turn away and just stare off into the distance, like,
And then there was
because it's like,
Nicaragua.
it's the kind of comedy where it's so fast that it just hits you. And you just are like, you can't not laugh just because it's so out of left field. Like they're asking about emergency stories, of like things you've had to deal with in like a medical field or whatever. Like somebody had like a heart attack, and nobody was expecting the Nicaragua.
No, you never do.
I was like, I'm gonna break.
You never expect the Nicaragua.
I'm just gonna burst with this. Yeah, it was really good. And again, for him, not so
Fantastic.
good. But for me,
I
great. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
can't imagine I would have died if I was in that room.
Well, I know you wouldn't have made it.
No.
You'd have had to just get up and walk out. Yeah, come on, man. You can't
If you
just drop
guys
that.
have you guys seen Isle of Dogs? Saw it last night. It's great. No, but I'm excited to. I like all his movies usually.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that too. Has anything else happened? So much stuff. I feel like so many things happened. We just like talk to each other on the phone,
I know. There's
and,
lots of stuff
and
we
we
can't
run through
talk
the
about
stories.
because there's two. Well, I mean, we can't talk about any of the work stuff. That's been a lot of the stuff we've been talking about lately.
Yeah, it's like as far as funny stuff goes, not a lot of funny stuff. I
No.
don't know if you remember people in the chat that there's a man who talked about how he had high cholesterol. I'm trying to solve the mystery right now of what happened. He was like, I have high cholesterol. And I was like, oh, well, how's your diet? And he said, well, every night I drink a 6 pack of beer and eat a block of cheese. And I was like, well, maybe that's the problem, man. And he's like, no, that couldn't be it. Anyway, so the other day, my wife was leaving and he was just outside in the parking lot surrounded by police looking up to God to help him. And I still, and now he's not here anymore.
Oh boy, I didn't know that he
So
hadn't come back.
he never came back.
Oh man,
So I don't know what happened. I want to know so bad. He
there's no blocks of cheese in prison.
No, it's just prison blocks.
Just ask your landlady. Go, hey, what's up?
Yeah. Hey, what happened to
Where'd he go?
the
I
guy guy?
borrowed something and I need to return it to him. Where can I send it?
Alcatraz.
Yeah, yeah. I want to know what happened. That's great.
Yeah, it was really funny. I was like, really? He's just gone now?
Bad Dog says, I've got a question. I think I discovered I charge too little. How do you go about increasing your rate? I mean, this is an easy answer, but it's just the obvious. You just go, this is my rate. And then people go, no or yes.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta kind of like I actually don't know how much people are charging for stuff right now,
All I know is what companies pay. I don't know what individuals charge.
but only some companies. And like
Only some
I
companies.
can't remember what like it depends on what you're doing because Marvel pays like shit. Sorry, Marvel.
Hmm.
They pay like crap for like covers and stuff like that. The upside of it is that you get your name on Marvel stuff, and hopefully over time you become a Marvel person. Because once you're like exclusive, then things are good. And once people like you, then you have that huge fan base and all that kind of stuff. But that's like a trade off. So some jobs aren't great, but they have decent trade offs. Um, Trying to think of the other stuff. Like in terms of like Magic the Gathering, like that's a pretty low rate, but you get that like experience of whatever. If you're into that, you want to do Magic, and that's like your dream, because a lot of people have that dream. Then
Hmm.
that's a trade off too. I don't know. As far as like charging for your own stuff for like personal clients, I feel like you can get away with charging more money.
It's funny because Magic is one of the only like loopholes where you actually make way more money as a traditional artist.
Yeah, because you get to sell it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess with Marvel Comics too, like Paula Rivera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make a lot of money on the back end of if you have like a really good cover, then you can sell it, sell your originals.
Was my dog okay? Yes. Historical Society freaks out. Huh? What's that? I live in like a weird New England town where there's a section of town that's all the old buildings and like a lot of them are apartments. But they take like a lot of these old towns over on, I don't know if this is everywhere. I'm guessing this is more like an East Coast New England thing. They're really weird about like cleanliness, and like they don't want it to look shitty when people drive through. So like if you live in a building in the historic area of town, there's certain rules that you have to like, they're in your lease. So like I can't put an air conditioner in a window facing the main street because that'll make the house look shittier. I can't leave trash out unless it's the night before trash pickup because it'll make the street look shittier. Like all kinds of stuff like that. So, yeah, it's really weird, but that's how it is in parts of Boston, Salem, the town I live in, uh, Plymouth. Like, yeah, any towns with like a historic area where the houses are old, they usually have weird bylaws like that.
Yeah, they have these police that shoot fire hoses at Dan when he comes
Yeah, they
out.
do.
Go
Yep.
get back inside.
Someone asked, "What's the longest you've ever gone without taking a shower?" I couldn't tell you. At least a month.
Really?
When I lived in New Bedford, absolutely. At peak depression, yeah.
Oh my god. I've
At
never
peak
done anything
depression,
like
at
that.
peak depression, yeah. At least 3 weeks, probably a month.
Oh my god.
When I didn't leave my house for 3 months, yeah, things got real bad. I can admit that.
Yeah.
Big enough. I'm big enough to admit that.
Get ready for some more messages.
It's fine, man. Should we talk about that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so apparently on the last few streams, people thought I was like suicidal. Because I got a whole bunch of messages from people after the streams that were like, "Hey, man, if you ever need to talk, things aren't that bad. You know, like you can reach out to me. I'm here." And it's like,
And this
I'm
isn't like
fine.
this isn't shitting on the people who reached out because
No,
that's
no,
genuinely
that's
nice.
genuinely nice, and it means a lot that you did that. But like, for anyone wondering, I guess, because I didn't know I
I'm
was giving off
laughing that
that.
Dan's giving off that vibe.
Yeah, for anyone wondering, I didn't know I was giving off that vibe. Like, things are fine. Like, I guess all the talk about like dating in your 30s and weirdness like that is like freaking people out. So I'm probably gonna lay off that a bit. But like, I don't know. Like, I'm okay. Like, I appreciate everyone that reached out. It meant a lot. It was nice. But like, just letting everyone know, like, things are fine. The China stuff sucks, but everything
Yeah,
else is good.
that'll never go away.
Just don't want people thinking I'm gonna be gone one of these days
I've been waiting for the
and
day.
disappear. How hard was it to get a job illustrating Magic the Gathering cards? I remember that was the first thing that got me learning illustration and getting in art school. Okay.
Uh, you got to do kind of like an entry job to get into it. I feel like. I mean, you can get directly into it, but it helps to have like a bit of a foundation. So for me, I got into doing D&D first, and then was building myself up there, and then use that to kind of leverage and be like, hey, would you um, put my name in for like Magic? I would like to do that. I don't know anybody who works in Magic. I don't know the ADs. Could you help me out? Because it was a lot easier for me to get work doing D&D. The skill level was lower, and that's how I got into it. I just kind of reached out to my art director after a few months of doing work for them, and he hooked me up with a contact. So yeah, I used the D&D opportunity basically to create a portfolio that I could use for Magic.
Yeah, always be prepping for the next job.
Yeah, always be prepping.
Would you guys consider doing an entire project traditional media like those watercolor and ink markers Dave did, like the eyeball night? Yeah, it depends on the project, but if something felt like it would be cooler traditional, then sure.
Yeah, that would be cool to do. It's just a matter of the subject, whatever it is.
Any tips on doing art tests? I'm doing one for a really small mobile game company. Is it a good idea to over deliver? They asked for character concepts, but I could totally 3D model the final character in their style in the time given. Do you think it's a good idea to add a lot of your own style in the art or to go 100% with their style? Well, it depends on it depends on what the art test is. It's different for every company. Like, for example, I did an art test once when I was like really desperate to get some work for I think it was, what's the name of that company? Is it Kabam?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's
And
command.
yeah, I did an art test for them, and it was like for isometric buildings for like one of their RTS games, and like I didn't know what I was doing. So they very specifically were like, we need you to fit this style. So like I wasn't going to take any liberties with it because they said specifically in the art test, we need you to fit this style. So like I did the best I could, in that regard. But I mean, if it's a really open art test, I guess maybe you could. I've never seen an art test where the goal wasn't can you match our team's style. So I would say don't take a ton of liberties. Usually, if they're giving you an art test, it's because they want to see if you can conform to what they already have going on. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to give you the test.
Yeah, I feel like you have a lot more freedom in illustration as opposed to something like that. Something
Right.
like that, it kind of falls more on just being an automated part of the team where they don't have to like think about it. I mean, they're basically just trying to make the same person multiple times.
Yeah, they want to know that you can look like what they've already got. So I would say don't take any liberties with the style, but if you want to throw in a 3D render of the character that you did and just kind of casually mention, like, oh, by the way, just to show you I know how to do this too, I threw in a 3D model of it, like, that might help, but definitely don't go against their style because the whole reason they're giving you a test is to make sure you can adhere to the style they already have.
That is right. Outer
um
space out the window. Wow. I used like this whole time just to sketch this thing out. It's crazy.
This is a good thing to bring up. Crackle Comics says my old contract said everything you create belongs to us, so I never over delivered. That's a very good point. A lot of companies have that clause in your contract. Anything you do on company time belongs to the company.
You also, like, I don't know, it's a big edged sword. It's a big sword. It's
Hey, we're
Nightmare's blade.
number we're number 6 on Twitch.
Oh.
Hey.
The thing with like over delivering and or not over delivering is that you need to be able to get yourself out of this job if you need to. That's one of the things that I feel like traps a lot of people is they go, "Oh, I don't want to work super hard on for these people on this job." And they do that over and over and then they don't have a portfolio that means anything. It's like you need to do your best for everybody so that you're not underprepared, to leave that company and have something.
Hmm.
You need to have something to show people. That's a huge part of it because tons of people just they do minimal work
What was the
for people.
nightmare? Remember that thing back when everybody was it wasn't Applebot, but it was the same time everybody was working for Applebot before they fired everyone. There was a studio that closed and like oh, it was what was it, 38 Studios? Is that the
Oh
one where Sean Murray worked?
yeah, it was not. It
Yeah.
was it that, and then Sean went to Harmonix. So
Yeah, but when 38 closed, everything was vaulted that everyone had done, and none of the people leaving it had a portfolio as a result
right.
because everything was thrown away. So like 3 years of all these people's lives were just gone, and they had nothing to show for it, nothing they could put in their portfolio. The building was literally locked, and the computers inside were auctioned
It
off because they
was
had internal servers.
whoever did that fantasy game.
Kingdoms of Amalur, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was 38.
I think it was 30. I might be wrong. I think it's 38. It was here
It's
in Rhode Island.
Kurt Schilling's company.
Yeah, it was Kurt Schilling's company. But that's one of those crazy instances where if you're not doing outside work and something like that happens to where you're working, you're totally fucked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a problem. You have to be creating like a backup. So in case the worst case scenario happens, you're not just out of luck. Like you got to be able to do something. Just
But
keep
yeah.
that in mind when you want to like either just do your job or slack on a job.
Spirit Dragon says, thank you for putting me on to Record a Lot of War, Dave.
Yeah, for sure.
Record a Lot of War is dope. Go watch the whole thing if you want. It's fantastic.
Great animation,
Hmm.
great design work.
We're talking
Mm-mm.
about the OVA, not Chronicles of the Heroic Knight, by the way. Even though the intro for Chronicles of the Heroic Knight is one of the greatest anime intros of all time. Don't you hate it when that happens?
It's
It's like
literally
buying a
the same
comic with
thing
a
as,
cool
yeah,
cover.
exactly
Yeah.
what I was about to say.
Yeah, and then
It's
the art on the inside sucks. That
yeah.
intro, the intro for that second Lotus War series is so good. It's got the girl who does all the music for the Suikoden games. It's so good.
Is it
And then,
actually her?
yeah, it is.
Okay.
And the show just blows. And the animation sucks, but the intro is so good. But then the original series, the animation's just amazing all throughout. But there's no intro. It's just horns going down, 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 and it sucks.
If you haven't seen it, I posted up like a pretty big thread on Twitter with like tons of artwork from Lotus War. If you want to see it, there's like really cool artwork I had never seen before, where they shared like the sketches and things, like the preliminary drawings. It's great.
Is there an interview today? No, there's an interview next week on the 2nd.
Yeah, this is a
Um,
stream day.
it's a stream day.
This is different,
I might do more portfolio reviews later this week, but there won't be another comic stream this week.
which is a bummer because I really wanted to be further.
I mean, we
This,
could do another if you want to.
if there's any time.
Yeah, we're kind of super busy right now, though.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Wait, so you should increase the rate to what you think you should charge in one go. What about people who heard about your rates from someone? Well, you just go, yeah, my rates have increased since then. That was a year ago or whatever.
Yeah, that's
Or you
some old shit.
say, yeah, you just say, yeah, my rates have gone up.
Oh, you still talking about that old shit? Nah, man, everything's different now.
Eh,
This is 2018. It's a new me. You got to be more straightforward and like, you know, it's like a business. You don't go up to a business and be like, "But I thought you charged this." They just go, "Yeah, well, no, not
yeah,
anymore." Like that's kind of how you got to treat it. You got to have that like, obviously I'm joking. You don't want to be a dick, but like you want to have the attitude of you respect yourself and you get what you earn, and not be afraid to charge more just because you feel like there's something out there about you already. Just go, what am I worth now? Like I change my rate a lot. It's like if I get a job where I'm doing movie posters, of course I'm going to change my rate after that. I'm worth more now. Like I have
hmm
more of a name. I've done something that's higher profile. More people are reaching out. Like that means something. So, you have to leverage that whenever you can, or you're just kind of robbing yourself.
yeah, 38 Studios went bankrupt. They basically put a bunch of money into making Kingdoms of Amalur, and then it didn't sell well enough. And
Did it
they
even
had
come out?
the game came out. Yeah,
You
it
sure?
was. I'm pretty positive. Yeah,
Whatever that one was where like the Spawn creator was involved, that one like they like put it out later. They had like a weird
yeah.
like
But the weird thing that happened is that 38 Rhode Island thought that bringing that studio here would be good for the local economy, so they gave them a big government subsidy.
yeah,
And then they went bankrupt, so all that money was gone, and the state was like, "Yeah, we want the money back," and there was no money back. So what they did was, this is why what I was mentioning earlier, why it was so crazy. They literally locked the building down, and they didn't tell anyone they were closing it. It just got locked up, and then they auctioned everything in the building off to the highest bidder, and the state recouped all the money. So like the server with all the art went to some, like, that was the thing Sean was telling us about back when that happened, was some of the artists went to the auction to try and get their computers at the auction because it was the only way to get their files back.
that's depressing.
Fucking crazy, right? Like,
It's really sad.
yeah, it's nuts. I can't even imagine that level of stress. But then They took the building they'd given him the subsidy on, and now it's part of Roger Williams University.
Like betting on kids.
Yeah.
And that's my son.
How many pieces would you prefer someone have for a portfolio review? Solid 10. 10's a good number for a portfolio. It's more than 5 seems like too little, and more than 10 is like okay, 10's enough. That being said, if you have an art station, you can just send me that. There's 50 things on it. I'll just look at the most recent ones.
Also, get a site if you have an art station and you're using it as a portfolio. Get your own website. You want to send people your own website.
Yeah.
You don't want to send people to an all-you-can-eat buffet of artists.
Well, because then it shows similar artists that might be better than you in the related artist thing on ArtStation. So if you send a client an ArtStation, they're 100 times more likely to reach out to somebody else.
Yeah, they go, oh, I only knew about this artist, and now
Yeah.
look at all these other ones.
Mm-hmm.
This is way better than that shit.
It's like the worst business decision to send a prospective client an ArtStation because you're just showing them tons of other people they could hire.
Well, it's like if Walmart had listings for Amazon products on its page.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, what? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. If you went down the aisle and you picked up a Lego set and it said, but you can get it for this much here and this much here
But
and
it's
this much here.
way better at
Yeah.
Target.
Yeah, Kings of Amalur did come out. It
Okay.
just felt unfinished. It was that weird. It was like an offline version of WoW, basically.
But they had that other game they were working on.
Yeah, I
When they
don't
closed
remember the
their
name.
doors. That was like the
Yeah.
one that they've been working on for like years where nobody got to show anything.
Right. Yeah, I don't remember the name of that one. It might have been another Kingdoms of Amalur game.
Yeah, it was probably the sequel.
We haven't made the email for portfolio reviews yet because we're big lazy boys. Just haven't done it. It's been a pretty phenomenally stressful week.
Yeah, I'm
We'll
honestly
get
not.
on it.
I'm sorry. I'm just not thinking about it.
Yeah,
in
we
the least.
oh boy, trying to think of a movie scene to compare this week to. I don't know. I feel like we're doing the exfiltration scene from Heat, wrapping up the Kickstarter. Just like we got to get out of this alive somehow.
Bum, 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 bum. It's like
It's
running
just
out into the
like
street.
exactly. That's what it feels like.
A
It's like
gunfight in broad daylight.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
Just me and you. Me and you, we both have blonde ponytails running out of the bank
Exactly.
with duffel bags full of books, shooting everybody.
That's what it feels like. It feels like the building is China, and the broad daylight is being open with everybody about what's going on, and we're just trying to get the books out. Trying so hard. But yeah.
Well, you're a cop and I'm a criminal.
When Epic canceled Paragon, they released all the assets for free for Unreal, over 12 million worth of models and characters, which is funny you mentioned that, because I don't know if you knew this, Michael Rivera, but Dave here, drawing the comic on the stream, designed a whole bunch of those characters.
Designed 60 of them, but not for that version of the game. For the
Yeah.
old version where it was like a sci-fi 70s game. That was back when it was called Orion.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, dog, this direction you went in,
Which raises the
it's
question:
not as dope as this one.
Can you break an NDA for a publicly canceled game?
I reached out to the guy who runs their, like, I don't know what you'd call it, publicity stuff.
Sure.
And I was like, is this okay to share? And he was like, send me the pieces and I'll approve them. And then I just didn't do it because we've been so busy. It's cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't do it.
Yeah, we talked about that briefly on our Brandon Jones interview, but
Yeah. You should
yeah.
check out that Brandon Jones interview.
You haven't listened to it. That was really fun talk.
Yeah, that was That was a really good interview.
I mean, Danica was great too. So was Danny. But like, we've been watching Brandon since we were kids, so it just felt comfortable. It was
Yeah.
just like, oh, I've known you forever. All right, I'm gonna reference things that you don't even know I know about you. I'm gonna be a psychopath.
I don't think he felt that way.
Yeah.
Maybe he did.
I know you were late for your wedding rehearsal.
Oh, I like that part.
Yeah.
What?
How did you know that?
Him just going, it's fucking
Oh.
gross, dog.
Hey, glad you enjoyed it. How do I get the main toolbar, the one with the logo for Clip Studio, onto my second monitor?
No idea.
I started animation this week. I want to do a 1 minute, 30-second short, but I'm still in the process of doing my portfolio to get checked by Carla. I thought about doing concepts for the short and incorporating them into the portfolio, but I'm concerned about the style differences.
Don't
Take
be.
one thing at a, huh?
Don't be worried about the style differences
Yeah.
necessarily. Just have, if it's really really fun and you love doing it, then you might have just found something.
Carla works for Disney. She's familiar with style differences. Like, it's fine. She's reviewed thousands of portfolios. She'll be able to give you some good advice. She's a very understanding and highly qualified person to look at your multiple styles and tell you what's feeling good and what isn't.
And if everybody's really nice to you and you feel like you need somebody to be meaner to you, come back here.
Dial 1800 Mr. Torture.
That is the most obscure Halloween reference.
Mr. Torture brings pain to the housewives in Spain.
This is the worst rhymes.
He knows just what they need, Mr. Torture. So if you're feeling alone, just pick up that phone. Dial
Dial
1800.
1800.
Mr. Torture brings pain.
The worst.
We should put Mr. Torture and Steve, have him be one of the executioners with the bag over his head.
We
Big
really
axe.
should.
Yeah, let's put Mr. Torture and Steve. Someone
Mr.
called me. Someone dialed 1800 Mr. Torture. Now I'm here.
Who the fuck are you? Oh, me. I'm Mr.
Wow,
Torture.
I think this has to happen now, actually.
What?
I'd love to. I've been trying to get a shitty executioner in for a while.
Yeah, Mr.
Oh, that'd be
Torture.
great.
Mr. Torture is such a lame name.
That's the best.
I know.
I'm just thinking of business cards that say 1800 Mr. Torture with like a photo of him folding his arms. Can your style be less hentai? No, that's great. It's a great quote.
I like that. Rose.
Hentai makes a ton of money. Sakimi-chan. Sakimi-chan makes a fucking killing.
Honestly,
Is her Patreon still up?
probably, but don't be dumping on hentai
No.
because
Buy a house with that money.
you could buy a family with that money.
Yeah, you could
You could
buy
buy
a new identity.
you
with
could
that
buy a
money.
house with somebody else's family in it with that money.
Yeah.
The house that hentai bought.
I mean, that should be the documentary. But I feel like whenever I talk about Sakimi-chan, it sounds like we're shitting on her. But like, I'm honestly like, it's so
Impressed.
crazy to me. It's impressive. It's more like I don't know what's more impressive: the amount of money she makes or the number of bullets that she dodges to make that money.
Both.
Because like, it's just crazy to me. Like, that Disney hasn't shut that down yet.
Mr. Todd.
Sells pain. That intro is just.
I would play it, but then our videos would get banned
Oh,
again.
yeah, last time.
I
I was in the
we'd be fine.
situation where I had to decide if I was to buy some paste slash potatoes or pack of toilet paper? What were your favorite broke moments? Oh, okay. Yeah, the choices are tough. There
Bro.
was a month where I had to decide if I wanted heat or food. That was
Yeah.
good. That was really good.
There was a month where I had to beg everyone I knew for help.
Yeah.
I wasn't really deciding anything. I was just leaving all my shame behind.
My favorite broke moment ever was actually after the first Steve book. It wasn't back when I was super broke. It was the Phantom scenario where I thought I had made a certain amount of money off the Kickstarter because we budgeted everything, and then Amazon went, "Hey, that 30 grand that you thought you were going to pay, it's actually 60." And I went, "Oh, I have no savings now." And all the money I thought I had was gone.
Yeah.
It like overnight. Just like nothing. And it was just like, "Oh, we just made a book and did a Kickstarter and now I'm back to zero." And that was like the craziest fucking feeling. But yeah, thank God we pulled out of that.
When is the Boys from New York episode 2 coming out? It's actually already done.
It's actually done. Yeah.
It's been done for years, literal
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. We just never put it out.
It's really good.
And they may or may not be in a certain book. Weird that that never got muted. Has Sakimi-chan cornered the market on Disney characters fucking each other? No, she doesn't cross that line. She takes the clothes off them, but she doesn't cross the line into actual pornography. She'll take the costume off and
I
show you
like
the
the
body.
she'll take the clothes off him, but she won't fuck him.
Yeah, exactly. She rides a really fine line of yeah. Hey, Sonny boy. I lost my job in marketing, and as a result, working as a freelance illustrator. Roast me. Fun fact: you can't. Oh, and as a result, started working as a freelance illustrator. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It sounds. I mean, I don't know if you enjoyed marketing. That sucks. If you enjoy freelance, that's great.
Yeah, we're both technically freelance, even
And we're
though we're
both
doing our thing too.
we're that's the weird thing is right now we're both technically freelance illustrators and we're both technically in marketing.
It's true.
It's like you can do both.
We're both rabid masturbators.
Whoa. True. Wait
So
a minute, is that real, Bog Sloth? I've never seen her do that.
what? What?
He says the first not safe for work Sakimi-chan thing I saw was Tifa climbing a mountain and random floating dicks coming on her, and I was super confused. I've never seen her cross that line where she actually draws sexual stuff. I've only seen her draw naked characters. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she's evolved into something even more dangerous.
That's
I
really
have no
cool.
idea. I don't
Floating
want to talk
dicks.
about like I don't want to say something about her that doesn't end up being true. So
No, of course not. We don't have any hate for Sakimi-chan.
no. I was like blown away at New York Comic Con because we had to meet. I was with Nusha Gasemi, and we were tabling next to her, and like she is a monster. She just does the craziest business. It's just nuts.
A monster in the way that she makes
Oh yeah,
dope
in
money.
a positive way. The amount of money and the amount of like people that came there just to see her is stupid.
Yeah.
Like the line was just she had 3 tables too, and the line was just all the way down. Like nothing but respect for that. I hope I can say that sentence I just said about Tifa with the new Twitch rules. I haven't read them yet.
If that gets us banned, then it
And
doesn't matter.
we never should have been here anyway.
Yeah, who
Yeah.
cares? I don't care at all if that's the case. Oh, really? You can't talk about cum and dicks? I'm out.
Yeah.
That was the only
That's our
reason I was here.
It's this whole kingdom.
If I can't be honest.
Yeah. Man, Char's so good.
So I'm just doing this, and then we're gonna hop off. Just drawing this one out, and then got to do some other things today. But yeah, just for everybody watching, if you wanna subscribe or, follow, or you can subscribe if you want to support us. But we're gonna have Tommy Reffens on April 2nd. He's gonna be on the stream
Mhm.
probably around noontime for EST, and I think like what is that? I think that's like 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you're going to be talking about Super Meat Boy because he's one of the two dudes of Team Meat, and it's going to be good. He's a programmer, amazing dude. He's into comics now too. He's writing his own thing, so it's going to be a cool talk. Pretty excited about it. We've been doing well with like our varied guests thing.
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about it.
Yeah, we've had a bunch of different kinds of people on.
We've got some more people lined up that are gonna come on that I'm feeling really good about too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I'm looking at my hand right now, trying to see how I'd hold a rose.
Hmm.
That's how I'd hold it. There it is.
Desperately trying to fill in my gauntlet of goals.
Yeah.
They just got the invite.
So
Are we doing that, or do you have to run to the?
I probably have to run, but we
Okay,
can
we'll just
do a
cover it later.
supplementary one where
Yeah.
we just hop
Well,
on and do it in like 10 minutes.
sure.
That'll be funny anyway. Come on with the music.
I actually, for whoever asked in the chat, I can't remember, but I've actually met Sakimi-chan. We tabled next to her, but like she was so busy. Like I can't even like. She must have had. I'm trying to think for Comic Con a line. You know where we tabled last time, Dave, on that corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically where Anusha was. She was between. Art Germ was where we were,
Yeah.
and I can't remember his name. And Sakimi-chan was on the other side. And the line started at her three table thing and it went all the way down to the end of the row and then curled around the row, went all the way around it back to the wall, and then all the way back down towards the guy with the big banner with the heads on it. Consistently.
Well, people shit on anime, and I don't know
Yeah.
why. If you want to get into that money making, you got to get into that anime. Look at us.
Andrew Gibbons Art just subscribed with a tier 1 sub.
You didn't have to do that, Andrew, but we love you for it.
It
Sprayed
felt
us
like
with that cream.
something like a boy band would say to the crowd. You didn't have to do that, but we love you for it, like in the breakdown of the song.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just want to let you guys know that drugs and
Exactly.
violence aren't the answer, and that really you should just stay
If we
inside
all
and
come
masturbate
together
at
as
home.
one, we can do anything together. That's the message.
If we
Like it
just
felt
didn't talk to each other, we'd never realize how much we didn't like them.
yeah. Does Char ever hold a rose in the show? Because it feels like it's so natural. Like it feels like feels like he's always been holding a rose.
Yeah, he might as well be. He's holding a rose. He's held a rose for sure. At least now he's holding a rose.
Are you guys considering doing streaming more often? We're committed to one long stream a week. Every other week it's an interview, and then we do these comic ones on the off weeks. We might be able to upgrade that to 2 a week. I don't know. Things are pretty tight right now. So
Yeah.
we want to stick to what we know we can deliver, which is the 1 a week.
Yeah. Well, we're on just as, as often as we can right now, and if it ends up working out and we get something going on here more often with like our interviews and stuff, like if that becomes a thing, that would be cool. Be cool
See,
to
I
be
knew it.
more productive on here.
I knew it, Bog Sloth. He found the Tifa picture. She wasn't climbing a mountain, but she's climbing something with a blurry background and there's rose petals everywhere. Very different than what was described.
Yeah, there were dicks and all kinds of stuff in the other one.
I knew she wouldn't cross that line.
Okay. I think that's going to do it for today. So, just refining lines on this Gundam page with the Ninja Turtles for page 2 of Devilman versus Batman.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be good.
It's great.
This is a complicated page, but I'm really happy
Oh,
with it.
never mind. Bog Sloth said it still did have those in it.
Oh,
I guess I was wrong.
you're wrong.
I'm gonna have to look that up for research to prove that you're telling the truth, and for no other reason.
Whoa. What was
Thanks,
that?
Story Painter.
Story painting cheered times 2.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just put up the acceptable comics thing, and yeah, we love you all. I just want to say that we'll probably be on later with our gauntlet of goals. I got to run a couple errands though right now before it gets too late.
Yep.
So thank you to everybody for coming and hanging out. Thanks for all the subs, you beautiful people. We
We
love
love you.
you. And we'll see you on April 2nd if we don't see you for the Gauntlet of Goals, for the interview with the very beautiful Tommy Reffens of Team Meat, Super Meat Boy famousness. And yeah, if you want to support us, you can go to stevelichman.com, and we have our books up there for pre-order if you want to check those out. There's also a preview if you haven't seen them, and you can check out our comics. And yeah, we love you.
Love you.
I blew a kiss to you. There it goes.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.